So, Superman is the new film by James Gunn, and is the first film in the new, rebooted DCU. This film follows Clark Kent, aka Superman, played by David Corenswet, who must fight Lex Luthor for a very specific personal reason. And that's like the most I can say without going into spoilers, because as you know, I'd like to do spoiler-free reviews on this channel. Yeah, those trailers are more focused on, presenting a more hopeful, upbeat vibe. And that's exactly what this film delivers on. It is a film that feels very hopeful. It's very upbeat. And I really, really liked it. And, James Gunn is no stranger to the superhero genre. Being the director of Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad, both, I think, are just like at the top of the superhero genre. He injects the same heart and soul that he had in those films into this one. It's a very moving film about the power of kindness and empathy, and I'll get into that more later on in this review, but there are things in this film that connect to the state of the world that we live in right now. It's a big blockbuster that isn't afraid to take some risky political stances that are already getting a lot of people very, very upset, but we'll get into that stuff later on. This review will probably be all over the place because this film is so much. There's a lot going on in this film. There's a lot to talk about. So yeah, it's going to be kind of scatterbrained, a little bit like how this film is presented. And again, we'll get to that. But before we get into anything else, I do want to briefly touch on the acting because, man, everyone here is just really, really amazing. David Corenswet absolutely kills it as Superman. He is so charismatic and likable. Rachel Brosnahan is also really, really great as Lois Lane. She gives the character a real sense of urgency. She's also very charismatic in a more sort of like serious, tough love kind of way. Probably the most underrated, most grounded performance here, which you really need in this world that's full of, larger than life characters, in a world filled with like Green Lanterns and Superman and Lex Luthor and all of these other people. But the real standout for me here is Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. He plays such an unlikable character, and it works so perfectly for this film. He plays like this rat, I don't know how else to describe it, just filled with jealousy over Superman and the power that he has. It feels a little bit like RDJ as Louis Strauss in Oppenheimer. It does have that same sort of, just hatred towards our main character. In a lot of ways, I kind of connected him to Elon, oddly enough, because he's described in the film as like being one of the smartest people on Earth, but you don't see him doing anything intelligent or smart. He has all these other people doing all the smart and making all the hard decisions for him. But he takes all of the credit for everything. So, he's just this talentless rat that sees himself as better than everyone else. And he's terrific in this role. I mean, the faces he makes, the monologues he delivers, it's all amazing. Like I said, every actor in this is great, but there are so many characters in here. Even though everyone is bringing their A game, that's also where one of my problems with the film lies, is that it's way too overcrowded and way overstuffed. The plot is it's wild, to say the least. Like, I think it was the right move for the trailers to not give away anything, because I don't know how you would have marketed the story in this. There are so many ideas and locations and characters packed into these, 2 hours, that I don't think the film had enough time to explore all of them as much as I would have liked. And the thing is, all of these ideas and all of these characters are great. I just want more of everything. Like, I wish there was like a 3-hour cut of this film that could give us more of this middle section of the film that takes place in a location that I don't think has been reviewed in the marketing. I wanted more of Clark Kent at the Daily Planet. I wanted more of Superman's relationship with Lois. But those scenes are just they aren't big parts of this film. We get like one scene of Clark Kent being a reporter, and that's it. And it's like, I want more of that stuff. I like that one scene. And I guess that's something that can be explored more in the sequel. It's just, we only have this one film now, so I want more of that stuff in this one film. But like I said, every character is still somehow written with so much depth that even though it is overstuffed and overcrowded, every single person somehow feels lived in and real. Every location feels lived in and real. And that's really, really great. I think this film does world building pretty great. And I mean, while we are still on the topic of the characters, man, I really like the action scenes here. James Gunn nowadays likes to film these things with wide angle lenses, which can sometimes make things look a little bit ugly and just strange and unnatural. But there's also so much kinetic movement with the camera, like how it struggles to keep up with Superman as he's flying, that really emphasized the speed at which he's moving. I thought the action was really, really amazing. I thought it was filmed pretty well. I do have some issues with the wide angle approach, but for the most part, I do like how it was shot. Most of the action is also focused on Superman saving people, not necessarily him fighting whatever villain he's supposed to be fighting. And that adds to this feeling that this version of the character is all about saving others and protecting others. It's something that's been missing from a lot of these more recent superhero films, and it makes this movie and this version of Superman feel so much more unique in this modern day, and also much more heroic and, you know, like a good person. And the film makes these like, don't get me wrong, like, it just because he's not punching people as often, that doesn't mean these moments aren't exciting. Like, they are sometimes more exciting than the punchy action scenes. It's very similar to the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films in that regard. But the main thing I connected with in this film is just how timely it is. I mean, the central conflict revolves around Superman's interference in a years-long ongoing genocide from a nation that feels like it has the right to take over land from their neighboring country. It is the most pro-Palestine blockbuster we will get in this modern age of superhero films. So I do have to commend it for that, even though it does use like fictional locations in place of Israel and Palestine. It does have it's so clearly based on that conflict, and that ties into, you know, the main themes of this film. You know, like, when I think of Superman, I don't think of a character, I think of his ideals and morals. I think of what the character stands for, and that's like kindness and empathy, doing things for the good of others, someone that's willing to try and see the good in others even if people hate him. That's what this film is about at its core. It perfectly understands Superman as a character and makes him someone to aspire to be. And to tie it into a conflict that is really relevant to our day and age is really moving, and I think a lot of people are going to be emotional about the political stance that this film makes. And for a lot of people, I do think that this will be something that gives them hope about the world we live in. Even though it is, you know, fiction, it might actually inspire people to be a better person, which I think is great. I mean, the film also just tries to make Superman human. He's an underdog the entire time. He's constantly being beaten up. He's always being outsmarted. He's basically, you know, fighting for a side in which he knows he'll lose, but he stands up for what's right anyway. That makes you root for him even more. It makes you want to be like him. That's what I want out of a superhero, and this film delivered on that. But my number one issue with this film, and the one thing that keeps me from saying I love it, is that there is a moment in the film's third act where Superman kind of acts in opposite to everything I've been saying. And I don't see anyone else talking about it online. They're all complaining about something else that happens earlier in the film, which I understand why people are upset about that. But this moment really bothered me, whereas the other one didn't from a narrative perspective. This one bothered me because it feels really out of place for this version of Superman and what the film was trying to tell us about this version. I'm not going to go into details here because, again, it's a huge spoiler, but it is a huge stain on an otherwise perfect Superman. And, you know, that moment that I'm referring to, I maybe if I do a spoiler review later on, I can delve into this, but maybe this moment could lead to ramifications in the sequel. It's just, having not seen that sequel yet, that makes this moment not work for me in the context of this film. But yeah, that was like really the only moment that really did not work for me, and I really actively kind of disliked it. And it was like a moment where the film really lost me, and I was like unsure if the film was going to be able to win me back. But I think the rest of the ending is just so strong that it somehow managed to, even though it was looking kind of rough for a little bit. But overall, yeah, I really like this film. Like I said, I don't know if I love it just because of that one choice in the third act. I do plan on seeing it again, so maybe that will change. But for right now, I really do highly recommend it. I think it's a great time. It's very moving and it's very fun. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of Superman. Did you guys enjoy it? Let me know down in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Long live cinema.